We've all binged watched the ocean's most porous yellow sponge, SpongeBob SquarePants. But what if we told you that everything you thought you knew about the show was actually one great big lie? Beneath its bright colors and goofy laughs, SpongeBob dives into many mature themes like body horror and self-destruction.
Look at him suffer!
And in today's video, we're going to dive deep and look at the scariest episodes to ever air in the Bikini Bottom. Starting with a fan favorite, Nasty Patty. SpongeBob straight up murdered a health inspector. The episode starts out with the Krusty Krab getting a surprise visit from the Bikini Bottom health inspector. Upon seeing the smug health inspector sniffing out the place, Mr. Krabs recruits SpongeBob to wow him with the best things the Krusty Krab has to offer. Just as the health inspector asks for one final Krabby Patty to finish his review, a sudden broadcast informs them of a fake health inspector going around eating free food. And if there's anything Eugene Krab hates, it's getting cheated out of a free meal. To get his lick back, he and SpongeBob cook up the nastiest, and we mean nastiest, Krabby Patty ever made. We're talking about a patty dunked in the toilet and stuffed with toenail clippings.
Oops, I dropped it in the toilet.
Well, fish it out, and I'll dry it with me gym socks.
Just as the so-called fake health inspector is about to take a bite out of the nasty patty, a fly enters his mouth and chokes him, causing him to pass out.
Hello, delicious. Come to Papa.
And that's when things get real. SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs start off laughing, but their smiles fade fast once they realize they just killed the health inspector. And this is where the so-called kids show takes a dark turn. For the next few scenes, we see SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs drag around the body as they try to get rid of it. And that's pretty dark if you ask me. But fortunately for everyone, the health inspector wakes up and gives the Krusty Krab flying reviews. Even though things ended well this time, we can't say the same for the next episode. Because in the episode Dumped, SpongeBob wakes up and decides to take his favorite pet, Gary the snail, out for a walk. Not long after, they come across the dumbest starfish in Bikini Bottom. And after playing a game of tag, SpongeBob notices something very odd about his pet. He doesn't really take it seriously at first, but Gary seems to form a strange attachment to Patrick. SpongeBob tries to convince Gary to return home with him, but the snail is dead set on staying with Patrick.
Gary, no, Gary!
Well. I guess that answers that question. So long, SpongeBob. Gary and me got stuff to do.
Out of options, SpongeBob tries to drag Gary back home, but the snail treats him like expired snail chow. And what follows is the kind of emotional darkness no children's show has any business delivering. In a matter of minutes, SpongeBob transitions from an affectionate caretaker to a broken sponge trying to patch a hole that not even a Krabby Patty could fill. He even tried to replace Gary with other pets, but it all ended in disaster. The moment that really drives home how dark this episode gets is when Patrick drops by to do his laundry, and we actually watch SpongeBob lose his mind in real time. The only saving grace for this episode was how SpongeBob eventually found out that Gary was only attracted to the cookies in Patrick's pocket.
Huh? He only liked me for my shorts!
No, Patrick. He wanted the cookie in your pocket.
Any other ending, and this episode would have been a masterclass in childhood abandonment trauma. As bad as that might sound, it only gets worse from here on. And next up, we have a good look at what it's like to be Squidward in the episode House Fancy. It starts out with Squidward's day getting absolutely destroyed when he learned that his arch rival got to show off his luxurious home on the TV show called House Fancy.
You wouldn't happen to be watching House Fancy, would you?
I was until you called.
Fabulous is on an empty stomach.
Wait, why did you ask me if I was watching House Fancy?
Sorry, Squilliam, but we've got to get back to the show.
Who's that talking in the background?
After getting blown away by Squilliam Fancy Son's home, Squidward decided to do something absolutely stupid. Even though he's supposed to be the smart one, he ends up calling in and claims his home deserves to be on House Fancy. To his surprise, they agree to do a house tour in 2 hours. And that's when reality hits Squidward because his home is in absolute shambles. It's still better compared to Patrick's sorry excuse for a house, but it's still nowhere near what he needs to blow viewers away on House Fancy. And this is where SpongeBob comes in. The fact that Squidward accepted help from SpongeBob just shows that there's probably something in Bikini Bottom that lowers the average IQ every episode. But anyway, SpongeBob gets to work, and Squidward's home goes from untidy to a full-blown disaster zone. But it's not the house trashing that makes this episode dark, but what happens to Squidward. While trying to move a sofa, Squidward's tentacle gets mangled in a scene so grotesque that even grown adults had to look away when it first aired. At the end of the day though, Squidward blows the TV host out of the water, so we guess it was all worth it. And in our next episode, Squid Visit, we're met with an unhinged obsession that makes us question if we're actually watching a kids show. The episode starts with SpongeBob pestering Squidward to come hang out at his pineapple home. Squidward, being Squidward, brushes off SpongeBob's pleas, but true to his goofy self, SpongeBob digs deep and does everything he can to win over the smug squid. However, things take a dark turn when SpongeBob's fixation turns to obsession. SpongeBob does the impossible by building a replica of Squidward's home just to get Squidward to visit. And when we say replica, we mean a freaking copy down to the last framed portrait. As if that wasn't crazy enough, SpongeBob goes ahead to steal Squidward's vacuum cleaner, forcing the squid to go visit.
Like tool for the job, huh?
Dear Squidward, thanks for lending me your vacuum cleaner. Sincerely, SpongeBob SquarePants. Oh, P.S. Bye!
And his reaction to seeing SpongeBob's obsession is perfect. This is the kind of stuff they make horror movies on, and we expect kids to watch it without flinching? The icing on the top was watching Squidward experience a mental breakdown after watching his home go up in flames.
No, no! I don't think
Overall, this episode makes you think about the wackos who greenlit the script. But even with this, there's still much darker episodes on the horizon. Speaking of darker episodes, Graveyard Shift was definitely one to keep kids up at night when it aired. And it all starts at the Krusty Krab, where Mr. Krabs learns that he can make more money by making his workers pull an all-nighter. Without even giving it a second thought, Mr. Krabs makes SpongeBob and Squidward pull a graveyard shift, and that's when things descend into paranoia and darkness. At first, SpongeBob is absolutely stoked about being able to work at the Krusty Krab at night, but that enthusiasm melts away once the darkness creeps in. To make sure we're dialed in on the paranoia, they even introduce a killer named the Hash-Slinging Slasher, as Squidward tries to scare SpongeBob.
There are 3 signs that signal the approach of the hash-slinging slasher. First, the lights will flicker on and off. And there will be nobody there. And finally, the hash-slinging slasher arrives in the ghost of the bus that ran him over. Then he exits the bus and crosses the street without looking both ways.
But it becomes nightmare fuel that haunts them throughout the episode. For most young kids, this would be their first introduction to an undead slasher killer. And for the rest of the episode, it's just jump scare after jump scare. And it even ends with a literal vampire being revealed. As far as dark episodes go, Graveyard Shift is up there with the darkest episode SpongeBob has to offer. Next up, we are taking a look at the episode that was so gross, it had us almost throwing up as kids. This episode, The Splinter. And as the name suggests, it's a splinter so horrible that it felt like full-on body horror. This time, SpongeBob takes us through his morning routine at the Krusty Krab. And out of nowhere, he gets the most unbelievable splinter in TV show history.
But you have got to go.
Just watching everything he survives on his way to getting the splinter might make you feel like he got away with a slap on the wrist. But it's what comes next that starts the horror show. What starts out like a simple splinter grows into a pus-infected wound that goes disgusting. You just know the animators wanted to traumatize as many kids as possible. And if you weren't grossed out by the tiny splinter already, Dr. Patrick comes along and makes it 10 times worse by hitting it and dumping trash on it. If you're the type that gets squeamish when it comes to body horror like this, you might want to skip out on this episode and definitely skip the ones that come next.
There appears to be a little bit of swelling. This garbage compress should help that go down.
SB129 is a Season 1 episode that sends Squidward on an emotional roller coaster no cartoon character should ever have to endure. It starts with SpongeBob and Patrick begging Squidward to go jellyfishing with them. But, of course, Squidward's far too sophisticated for that. He'd rather stay alone and play his clarinet in peace. SpongeBob and Patrick refuse to leave him be. So he decides to go to the Krusty Krab for some privacy, and that's when it all falls apart. Squidward gets trapped in the freezer and wakes up in a future where everything is chrome colored and robot SpongeBobs run the Krusty Krab.
SpongeBob, is that you?
SpongeBob? No! I am SpongeTron.
Freaked out by his new reality, Squidward tries to use a time machine to get back home, but he ends up in a prehistoric Bikini Bottom. Still haunted by the stupidest version of SpongeBob and Squidward ever imagined, Squidward uses the time machine one more time and ends up falling through the time stream. In this new, empty space, Squidward finally gets the peace and quiet he's always wanted, but it comes in the form of a white void with no sound, no walls, and no life. The show drops all the usual goofiness and hits viewers with a chilling visual metaphor for total isolation. It gets so unbearable that Squidward actually begs to have his old life with SpongeBob back.
I wanna go home. I miss Bikini Bottom. I miss my Easter Island head. I even miss SpongeBob.
And in that moment, he's closer to madness than we've ever seen him. By now, it's no secret that Squidward always gets the short end of the stick. But Are You Happy Now is the episode that really clears all doubt that Squidward was made to suffer. In this episode, SpongeBob asks Squidward about his happiest memory. And when they realize he doesn't have any, SpongeBob makes it his mission to create one for him. They start with a visit to an orchestra, and then a visit to the museum, but it all ends in disaster. After SpongeBob fails to give Squidward his happiest memory, Squidward becomes increasingly unhinged. He locks himself in his house, refuses to come out, and descends into full-blown depression. There's even a scene where Squidward tries to hang something with a rope, and you can immediately tell where they were going with that joke. Depression is one thing, but hinting at a character trying to hang themselves? That's a level of darkness you'd never expect from a kids show. That brings us to the second darkest SpongeBob episode, and that title has to go to an episode called Planet of the Jellyfish. It starts with SpongeBob and Patrick goofing around jellyfishing when a hidden alien suddenly releases clones, which replaces Patrick with a clone. Unoblivious SpongeBob takes the fake Patrick around Bikini Bottom as they go on replacing everything. If this sounds like a horror movie, it's probably because it was ripped right out of one. And with each new clone, the episode gets creepier and creepier. To really rub it in, the episode has SpongeBob watching a horror movie at night while a lone jellyfish tries and fails to replace him. The next day, SpongeBob goes to the Krusty Krab and stumbles upon the alien's nest. And that is when things go from bad to nightmare fuel.
Sleep well.
Random guy! What am I gonna do? Oh, my friend.
The whole town turns on him like a scene straight out of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Imagine being a kid watching this episode at 1 in the morning. There's no way you'd look at your parents the same way after that. But if that wasn't dark enough for you, then the next episode should do the job. This episode is called One Course Meal, and we're still wondering how it got approved for a kids show in the first place. One Course Meal begins with Plankton staging an epic heist for the Krabby Patty formula when out of nowhere Pearl shows up. And we learn something so evil, you have to double check you're still watching a kids show. It's revealed that Plankton has a crippling fear of whales because real-life whales eat plankton. And this sets the stage for the darkest episode in SpongeBob history. Once Mr. Krabs learns about Plankton, he goes into mischief mode and decides to torture the living hell out of Plankton.
I'm hungry!
So, he dresses up as Pearl to harass Plankton. The prank gets so bad that Plankton starts having nightmares about being chased by her.
No, 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 no! Whoa! Hey! Get me out of here!
And even when you think it's all goofy fun, the episode takes a jaw-dropping turn as Plankton, completely broken, decides to lie down in the middle of the road to end it all. Most kids watching this episode might not see past the dialogue and the funny antics, but this episode is as dark as Bikini Bottom gets. So you might think SpongeBob is all about Krabby Patties and funny Bikini Bottom antics, but beneath all that laughter lurks something much darker. If you manage to watch this episode to the end without getting replaced by the alien jellyfish, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Or you just might receive the same splinters SpongeBob got.